What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the NBA Slate Starter podcast. I'm Eric, joined with my buddy Emac as we break down Monday's 10-game NBA DFS slate on DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo. Our sponsor, Yahoo. Thank you so much to them for hanging out with us once again here for this week. But Ryan's out of commission here today. He's being a great son. Again, all the well wishes. Everybody was so nice to Ryan. But we're going to show that same love and courtesy here to my dude over there, Emac. We had a decent little NFL slate. It sounds like everything was all right for the most part. You did a great job on the Showdown show. We're coming to you guys right after we get done with that. We're sacrificing watching some Kansas City Chiefs football in order to bring you the NBA content. But Emac, how you doing this Sunday?
I'm doing all right. It was a fun weekend here. We had the league championships in college football yesterday, so that was a good time. I did okay on Showdown, not so good on the other slate.
I was doing great at Showdown until that freaking Georgia tight end decided to just go nuts at 65% ownership after having two, and I had like 100% of Bryce Young in the captain spot, and then all of a sudden you needed not that. It was brutal.
Yeah, so that was fun. Had a really nice night in hockey last night. Basketball, nothing to write home
Sounds like
about.
we had the same weekend, Emac.
Yeah.
Sounds like you and I could have just been in the same room and just like on our laptops for 48 hours, and we both would have been happy as a clam, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Eric, namesake Eric, in terms of actions, we are the same person, maybe, 15 years apart? Is that what it is? 20 years?
Probably closer to 20 would be my guess.
Okay, well, I said 15, so hit that like button for Emac because he's younger now, just because I said that. Hit that subscribe button as well. Thank you so much to him for joining us once again. He did so well filling in for me, for Ryan, when I was on vacation, when I was gone, and showing that same love and support here as well because, again, he's one of the sharpest guys who's been around for, again, he's only 40 years old, so he's only been around for, 20 years in the DFS industry? Since the inception, I know for sure. I remember watching him back in the RG days once upon a time, and it's great to be on a show with him. I think that's an underrated piece of us getting to work together is how much I appreciate it. So we've got some NBA to get to. We've got three sites to cover. We're going to go guard, forward, center. We've narrowed it down a little bit instead of having just point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward. We're condensing the positions. That should help it move along pretty quickly. But Emac, you ready to get going, my dude?
Let's ride.
He knows the drill. Look at this. It's just incredible. Here we go. The guard position on the
top. I'm writing a check to Rinpack now for copyright infringement.
It's all right. His lawyers will be in touch. You just sit tight. Steph Curry, 11,700 on the top end. That is a hefty number going up against Orlando. There's definite blowout potential. He's coming off a game that was very, very poor. They lost to the Spurs at home. That was definitely their worst loss of the season. Coming off of a Phoenix win, it was definitely a letdown spot, and they let down, and DeJounte Murray was incredible, but 5 for 17 from three, 7 for 28 from the field. I don't have any issues for Steph Curry if you can get up to him, but basically it's going to be an opportunity cost of the position. We'll get down to that far bottom end where Ish Smith is 3,400 and probably the most ridiculously poorly priced player of all time coming off of a day where today he was more appropriately priced and completely smash that tag. I know we normally talk about all the guys on the top end, but with Charlotte in this early game going up against Philadelphia at home on a back-to-back, as long as Rozier are out, and they're going to be out because of health and safety protocols, once again, we're looking at possibly like an infinity-owned Ish Smith and this entire Charlotte team. I think they're the talk of this entire slate now until lock. It's going to get madness. Do you agree, Emac?
Yeah, so for those of you that may not have played on Sunday or not realized come Saturday that 4 players for the Charlotte Hornets are tested positive for COVID-19, so they are in the health and safety protocol. They either have to be away from the team for 10 days and then get a negative test and exhibiting no symptoms, or I believe if within 48 hours after that, they can pull multiple negative tests within a 24-hour period, then they're okay to come back to the team if they've been vaccinated, which is why LeBron got to come back a little quicker than the others, and a few other players have as well. So it's this whole thing's kind of interesting here. I thought Josh had a good point I heard on one of his shows where he mentioned he thinks some of the people that maybe just randomly all of a sudden out with the non-COVID related illnesses, the booster shots. Right, because I've gotten my booster shot and it kicked my ass.
I'm getting mine on Tuesday. Joy.
It was just 3 days of non-negotiable. Okay, I'm going to take a 3-hour nap and I don't have a choice. That's all it was. I didn't really feel bad. I was just like, you will sleep and you will sleep right now. So, hey, I like those.
I have that to look forward to. Luckily, yes. I booked it because Tuesday is generally the lightest day that we have coming off of a crazy NFL weekend. We have the Sunday and then the Monday night I host the show then. And I was like, Tuesday will be a relaxed day. Not sounding like it's going to be very relaxing is what I'm learning.
Yeah, so that would be so the people that are out: LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Jalen McDaniels, and Mason Plumlee. So they did recall from their G League team: Vernon Carey Jr., Kai Jones, Jay Bouknight were the three they brought up from there, and then they had Arnoldus Kaboka and Scotty Lewis were two-way players, so they brought them back as well. So they've got enough.
And none
players.
of them played tonight.
None of them played tonight. Yeah, so that was the interesting part. You're right. So Bouknight played. Somebody named Thor. I have no idea. I saw
that too. I'd never heard of him. JT Thor is the guy.
Swing the hammer and go dunk like that. Yeah. And then somebody named Richards started and played 7 minutes. But Oubre played 39. Ish Smith played 32. Bridges played 40. Gordon Hayward played 33. PJ Washington off the bench had 38. And then Caleb Martin, who was dealing with a non-COVID related illness himself, which I think might have been a booster or might have been a cold, he ended up playing 32 minutes. So I think we're going to see these guys play heavy minutes again, and then it's going to start taking a toll on them. But we've got one more day here of cheap value with what should be a lot of minutes. I'm curious I don't think Hayward goes much over 30, 34. But the other guys I think will, just because Hayward's always getting hurt. My guess is they're not going to run him into the ground. But then not to bury the lead, they actually beat Atlanta tonight with this team, 130-127.
So let's go over some of the minutes here from tonight. I think it's an important talking point simply because I think the minutes are extremely secure. You saw a 9-man rotation. You had Kaboka, Jones, Carey Jr., Lewis. None of them played. So they were all on the bench or didn't get there. They're in Atlanta. They're going to have to fly home to Charlotte. Then they're playing tomorrow night. And again, we have to just look at this because these prices, for whatever reason, went down to act as though LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier were going to be back. And now you're looking at Oubre 5,800, the only appropriately priced guard there. Cody Martin 3,900. He had a really nice game as well. So all those guys played big minutes. So I'll write off Richards, Thor, and Bouknight since none of them played over 12 minutes. It was 12, 7, and 6 respectively there. But Miles Bridges, 40 minutes. Put up 32 real points, 4 assists, 3 steals, 50 spot over on DK. Gordon Hayward had the worst game of the grouping, 33 minutes, 18 points, 3 assists, 5 rebounds there. He will be, a guy that you could think probably didn't play as many minutes because of this back-to-back situation. Ish Smith, 32 minutes. He was fantastic. Ended up really paying off his price tag. He's going to be the highest owned player of the slate tomorrow. Kelly Oubre, 39 minutes, ended up in the starting unit. Basically him and then also PJ Washington there coming off of the bench. That was just a ridiculous combination because they wanted to have him be somebody who came in for Richards, and he just basically relieved Richards for the entire game. As we said on the NBA Live Before Lock show, hopefully none of you guys played that idiot, but here we go. I love all of those Charlotte Hornets. There's no way that I'm possibly going to get away from Cody Martin at 3,900 or Ish Smith at 3,400 based off of what we saw. How much of them to have is going to dictate really on what other value shows up. And this is the first game of the night, which always sucks because I preach late swap all the time. It's just going to be impossible. Ish Smith, 3,400, I'm going to have crazy amount of. There's no way around it.
12 years in the league for Smith. He's 33 years old. How many teams has he played for?
I'm going to guess based on what you said there, I'm going to say like 9.
12.
Oh, good Lord. What? They should put in his, when they retire his jersey, which isn't going to happen now. Just saying, like maybe they go backwards and they just say, who didn't he play for?
Yeah.
And then they talk about it in that fashion. But all right, rest of the guard position, pretty straightforward. I think you've got some spend up options we want to be looking at. Trae Young on a back-to-back here as well. He was questionable. He ended up playing. Now Atlanta travels to Minnesota today, 10-3. I loved him tonight. We'll see. He should be good to go, I would think, still in the back-to-back if he went tonight. But maybe they rest him out, and then you're looking at absolute chaos on the slate. DeJounte Murray, 10-2, up against Phoenix. Tough spot, but this guy has just been revelatory this entire season, and I think that he mixes well in tournaments where you need to reduce some ownership in your lineup with some chalky Charlotte Hornets, and you plug him in, you got some upside. I don't really see a whole lot in that 7K range Maybe, I mean, Kyle Lowry is just so expensive now, 7,500. Tyler Hero, 7,300. He's going to pay off this price tag eventually if Jimmy Butler's out. It's just going to happen. That's what I believe. But maybe with Jimmy Butler back in, I don't have to worry about it. That would be ideal for me.
Yeah, and so just for those of you wondering, Jimmy Butler, questionable there. He's trending towards playing. He was dealing with a bruised lower back or a tailbone issue. The other one I was trying to figure out, Giannis is the other one. So he missed the last 2 games with the calf injury. He's also listed as questionable. We know the drill when those guys are out because we still have, like looking at Yahoo, Jrue Holiday is too cheap if Giannis is out. I like Chris Paul. With Devin Booker out, he's at 35. I think that's a nice match. This is a good matchup for him going against San Antonio because they are playing faster and not quite as good a defense as they have in prior years. Their backcourt is actually okay at defending, but Chris Paul does most of his points now, or most of his fantasy production comes from assists, etc. He'll still he'll still take a shot when he needs to, but he was one of the guys I liked there at that mid tier. And then the other guy that I found was kind of interesting is Will Barton on Yahoo is 25. Mm-hmm. That starts to get a little bit intriguing as well. Just, Chicago, not the easiest matchup here. But that one is without Austin Rivers, without Bones Highland, obviously no Jamal Murray, no more Michael Porter Jr. You're looking at him and you're looking at Jokic, and that's kind of about it with Aaron Gordon, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's look at FanDuel then, because I think that we are running into a lot of the same issues there that we're going to be running into over on DK. Ish Smith is 4,500. That's just way, way, way too cheap with LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier out. So expect for that rostership to be a little bit silly there. And anywhere else you want to go, he's going to basically be one roster spot that most lineups are going to be filling out. And Ish Smith has point guard / shooting guard eligibility. That makes him eligible to fit into more lineups. So, yikes. He's going to be crazy popular there as well. On the top end, Steph Curry 10-7 is more advantageously priced. And then, so are DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, both sub 10K. Softer pricing. We've come to expect that here a little bit of FanDuel. 8,200 Cole Anthony looks really nice in terms of upside. He's played 36 minutes the last 2 after being out for 6 games. I think that is just fine. If they're going to keep that competitive, I might be playing some Cole Anthony alongside some Steph Curry just because that makes it a little bit more blowout proof. I'll do that from time to time with studs. It's not something that I'm prioritizing a majority of the time. I'll just kind of let the chips fall where they may. But when you're paying up for a guy like Steph Curry and you're worried about blowout, I'm happy to incorporate the piece that would basically stop that from happening. Talk to me about anything you're noticing on FanDuel.
So looking at FanDuel, we do have to mention, of course, that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is still in the concussion protocol. It looks like he's out. I know I get all the sports confused now of their different milestone steps, etc. But we'll just operate under the assumption that he is out. You had Darius Garland with 2 phenomenal games, one coming against Utah of all teams, where he dropped 54 fantasy points in a 1-point loss to the Jazz, and then the game before that he put up 53 fantasy points against the Wizards, and the Wizards are no slouches on defense. So for him to do that against 2 really good defensive teams, I like his opportunities here against Milwaukee for just general price and potential upside. I don't think we can expect that as his new baseline by any stretch, but I think 40 fantasy points is something we should start to assign to Garland with Sexton out and with Rubio still generally coming off the bench, I believe, in that rotation. But I think he's getting all the shots that he wants. And then the last person kind of down here, Josh Giddey might be back at some point. He was dealing with a non-COVID related illness. He's not listed on the practice report. And he was able to participate in Sunday's practice. So I think he's someone we want to consider with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out.
Yay. Love talking OKC and Detroit. That's going to be such a fun game to watch. I can't wait for it to dictate all of my DFS winnings. I love basketball. That's fun. That was sarcasm.
What are the odds that Jeremy Grant sits out for some obscure reason?
I don't know. Is this the end of 2020 where that seemed to happen every single freaking game? And then end of this last season, it happened every freaking game, whether it was Denver in the bubble, whether it was him in Detroit here. Yeah, he's somebody that does kind of go MIA out of the middle of nowhere. I mean, Detroit was just packing it in for Cade Cunningham. Let's be serious. They wanted as good of a chance at him as what they could. Hope they feel good about having him and not Evan Mobley right now. I wouldn't. I think I called that one with Josh. We were talking about how Cade Cunningham was going to be a volume guy when we did that NBA draft show, and that was about going to be it for both of us. I'm not that enamored with him, and definitely coming to fruition, but not like I saw Mobley being this good. Let's move ourselves along here. Yahoo, you had kind of briefly touched on. We'll round out the conversation there. DeJounte Murray, $44 up there. 47 for Steph Curry. I don't think that's enough gap. I'd probably prefer finding the money to get up to Steph, but Trae Young at 40. Chris Paul at 35 here. So long as we're going to continue to have Devin Booker out, he's out. We're going to play some Chris Paul still at that number, especially now that he didn't have to grind out a game here. He's actually had, 2 days off? He had a weekend off. How nice for the old man. He's going to be able to relax and kick his feet up and now come back rejuvenated, or that's my hope for it, because I'm probably going to have too much of him. Looking at Will Barton, you said $25. I think that's just fine right there. Derek White has some upside, 22. Karis LeVert, 20. Probably want to go play him on other sites. Rounding the loop on FanDuel there, where, of course, Karis LeVert has been the topic of conversation because he's just had a terrible tag. Well, he's 5,100. He has a terrible tag over there again. At least he's not sub 5K, but he'll be extremely popular. I'd prefer him there as opposed to Yahoo. But what sticks out to you over on Yahoo to round out the loop there?
Dennis Smith Jr. at 13.
Oh, son of a biscuit. What is it?
Yeah, I died on the vine on Saturday with I went way.
I'm going to die on it too.
Norman Powell, and I kept DSJ at about 10%. Did not work out in my favor. I think
I had
the same
Infinity
thing again.
DSJ at 43.8 on Yahoo. Yeah. We should all roster a boatload of him. Also, I was just in second in Houston and New Orleans right now are playing. I was in second in the 4-point play or the $4 on DK, and now I am not, and now I am sad. 3 minutes left in this game, and I'm just going to watch winnings go down. The worst feeling in the world. Continue on, Emac.
Yeah, so I think we can still go back there. I think Dennis Smith Jr., he's going to be infuriating. He is not a good play, but he is going to get minutes. There's no Anthony Simons. There's no Damian Lillard, who's out with a core muscle or an abdominal muscle injury for at least another 4 or 5 games. No strong timetable to return. And we've seen that CJ McCollum just doesn't move straight into the point guard duties. They sort of share these things between Norman Powell and you got Dennis Smith Jr., as we mentioned, and I wanted to see Ben McLemore's floating around in there. So they get a little bit of the non-traditional facilitators in those guys. So it sort of depends which combination of players are on the court. So I don't think this is a slam dunk situation, but Smith Jr. played 36 minutes. This was the NBA is just random this year. Boston goes from losing 137, 130 in Utah on Friday night, and then they go and just torch the Trailblazers.
Yeah.
Torch Blazers.
Emac, there's nothing that encapsulates the NBA this year more than this. The Houston Rockets started off the season 1-16.
So 1-16.
Or 1-16. Sorry, 1-16. That's what I meant. They've ran off 6 in a row, or 5 in a row now. Going to be 6 in a row if they can hold on. They're up 8 right now. 2 minutes left in that game. Houston and New Orleans, 111-103 here. 6 in a row for the Houston Rockets. And I know they've played 3 bad teams, 4 bad teams here. So, I mean, the Bulls, good team, good win. Hornets, great win. Thunder, great win. No, I'm just kidding. Thunder, back-to-back there. Magic there. This is the 5th game. And now New Orleans. So 4 cake puffs in the middle of that. But Hornets and Bulls to start that thing off. They're moving in the right direction. Christian Wood playing well. But you go from 1-16, you lose the number 2 pick, I believe, in Jalen Green there. And you get way better. I don't understand. I don't get it. Jalen Green's been very bad, so there's that. But Garrison Matthews, he's the answer. Emac, that's what we've learned. That's all I think.
Now that Garrison Matthews has a bunch of tattoos, that's the answer. He didn't.
Does he really? I was watching that game. I guess I wasn't paying enough attention. I just saw Brandon Ingram scoring at will. He has a lot of tattoos.
Brandon Ingram has a lot. Garrison Matthews didn't have that many when he was with the Wizards. Like, he had a couple on his shoulder. He's kind of on his arms, his biceps. They're like everywhere now. So
yeah, he's it's hot boy summer or hot boy winter.
Yeah. So in any event, maybe you just need he's good. Yeah. I can't. Let's stop talking about Garrison Matthews. All right.
Okay. You know what I want to talk about?
Garrison
Emac?
Matthews.
Nope. I want to talk about new Yahoo users. Get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum with your first time deposit. How about my segue game has gotten so much better, Emac. That's something that I've learned from you. And here's what you do. New Yahoo user, deposit $10 or more. In that first deposit, play any paid contest, and you will get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. It's not just that Yahoo has the best contests in the entire industry to play with the lowest management fees. A lot of times in NFL, negative management fees that you'll see in that big $20 tournament on Sundays. Best place, best bang for your buck, period. But now you're going to get all of the tools and content for every sport, not just NBA, but NFL, MMA, PGA when that starts back up. NHL's in full swing as well. Emac having a fantastic day yesterday alongside me because I felt good about it. And we have the best tools and content for even a scrub like me who doesn't pay that much attention to the NHL to have a fantastic day. We have college basketball, college football projections. Everything you could ask for is available using this promotion. So stop guessing, start winning. Deposit on Yahoo and take advantage of this promotion. How about that? Let's jump over to guard here. To forward. We're going to forward over on DraftKings top end. Big piece of news on this slate as well as we're moving down the line. Giannis Antetokounmpo is questionable. I think he's going to give it a go. He missed the last 2 here, and I feel as though he's going to give it a go now in this spot up against Cleveland. Cleveland been a surprisingly good team here this entire season, and Milwaukee was able to go all hands on deck with their other pieces. Chris Middleton was very serviceable in that Miami win. They ended up dominating Miami on Saturday there and put the foot down. And so Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, maybe somebody rest there. But for the most part, for me, it's going to be for Milwaukee, play Giannis Antetokounmpo. If not, I don't want to be paying $7,800 for Bobby Portis. Maybe I'll look at some $8K Chris Middleton, but big upside. That's somebody I'd want to get to. Paul George, out of the middle of nowhere, priced up to 10-6. Why? Why are we doing this? The guy's failed to eclipse 45 fantasy points now for like the last week and a half, and yet his tag went up another $400. That makes no sense to me. Maybe it's the Portland effect. Maybe it's just you have to pay to have nice things on DraftKings now. I'm not really sure, but pay attention to that because I don't think that I can really talk myself into that. But anything else that's really sticking out to you on the top end of forward on DraftKings?
Not on DraftKings. We did kind of in the mid-tier, we did see Draymond Green have a phenomenal night against Phoenix. When they ended the Suns' 18-game winning streak, he dropped 51 fantasy points. He had 9 rebounds, 9 assists, 9 points. 6, well, let's say 9. Let's give him 4 9s. So he had 9 stocks, combined blocks and steals. Wow, I didn't realize that line was that good. But yeah, so this one's the other one I want to mention at the top end is Domantas Sabonis. So apparently Rick Carlisle hates him, I guess, which
absolutely hates the man. But then when you have Miles Turner out, he goes up and puts like 65 plus, but whatever.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. And I think Rick Carlisle's a great coach, and we saw him just do in-game adjustments and all that stuff. I don't know why, for whatever reason, this just isn't really I'm being exaggerating when I say he hates him, but Sabonis is just we're back to the can he really play with Miles Turner again? And they both were fine with each other last year, but he came off the bench the last game. I don't even know if he was at the arena. We were getting mixed reports that he was available but not starting and yada yada yada. So about halfway through the first quarter, he got into the game. He ended up having a really good game after all. And then later they said it was some sort of family matter. But we couldn't even get straight reporting before the game as to if he was playing, if it was disciplinary, what was it? I don't know why these coaches are just so obfuscating.
Close to the vest for zero reason whatsoever.
Yes, that would be the other
their sport is entertainment. It is something that dictates a lot of people's lives, but I think they think masking something about having Miles Turner, who, why wouldn't you want Miles Turner starting? He's a great defensive center. He also was efficient that game, 7 for 11, a guy who can shoot threes. I don't understand coaches. I don't understand beat writers and how come they can't do their jobs, mainly because I think they're scared of getting fired if they get, if they put something that some player doesn't like or some coach doesn't like, and then all of a sudden they're banned from having access that they were once granted just by being nice and playing nice.
Yes.
I think I broke that down correctly. Anyway, we're back to the forward position, even though I'm pissed now. Here we go.
Rest of the guys' winnings are really going down. That's what I'm
Oh, yeah. No. I'm going to get like top 10. I have like 3 lineups in the top 10. It's going to be a really good NBA night over on DK. But Josh Giddey there, 6,800. I expect him to be, super insanely popular at that number, because 6,800 for Josh Giddey, shooting guard, small forward eligible. It's just going to be what it is. We haven't seen him here. He was sick, but he'll come back. He's going to play 30 plus minutes, and there's no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's really the key part. And the guy's assist rate is just something else. He's another really solid rookie. OKC did not miss with that. We'll see what they do with their next 48 first round picks that they have the next 3 years, but that'll be entertainment for sure. We talked about Gordon Hayward, talked about this Charlotte situation at length. Kelly Oubre, 5,800. The disappointing Gordon Hayward, 7K on a back-to-back. Maybe they'll limit his minutes, but I'm not going to plan for that. And then PJ Washington, 5,700. All those dudes, massively, massively strong plays all the way up there. Miles Bridges, too, got a price decrease down to 7,700. I don't understand what DK did. Maybe they just kind of, they sharply, advantageously priced it up. Now they're just being nice to everybody in some kind of like late Cyber Monday kind of a deal. But there's that. The Minnesota situation is the other thing to really keep intact for this slate. Karl Anthony Towns is questionable. We saw Jared Vanderbilt, Naz Reid, smash. They would absolutely be phenomenal plays once again. Yet more value here on this slate. How do you feel about them based on what we saw against Brooklyn without Cat?
So you were on air that night with Greg.
Sure was.
I believe. I ended up
Nas.
Yeah, I ended up playing about 70 to 80% of both of them.
Good man.
So that part was strong. I didn't quite go all in. Like I know that you guys were looking at. I haven't quite learned when is appropriate or not appropriate. But the interesting thing, we hit on it a little bit with oh my God, I can't believe these teams are turning around and winning when they shouldn't, losing when they shouldn't. But there seems to be more variance than ever this year in the NBA.
Agreed.
And it's I think what we're seeing is the lockout, or not the shutdown for the pandemic. Then everybody came back and they played a lot. While they weren't traveling, they were still playing a lot of games. We had the shortest off season ever. They had the Olympics in there, and now here we are ramping up again. And with the way they're running the season, they're running most weeks. They're going to have 4 games. A short week is 3. I think each team only has 2 weeks throughout the season where they have just 2 games. Like Dallas had 2 games last week, and that was like one of the few times I've seen anybody do that. So I think they're getting tired because they've just been doing nonstop basketball, and the shutting down and starting back up. And then they didn't know exactly when they were going to start this season. I think it screwed up a lot of their training regimens, because these guys do take some downtime, because you can't be at peak the entire time, because then you get all the stressor injuries and things like that, stress fractures and hamstrings and stuff, and tendon issues. But it just feels like this year, the randomness is different this year than it was last year when people were sitting for COVID or whatever. And, we still are getting some of that, but it's just different. I don't know how to get a read on it. And
well, here's my take on that, Emac, is that for me, and I know you've heard me say this, I'm sure people who have listened to our podcast before have heard me say this, but sometimes the timing of the news is as important as the news itself. Well, the news itself was pretty easy to react to. You like Naz Reid, you like Jared Vanderbilt. Of course I do. Jared Vanderbilt, I thought, was even a little bit too expensive at his number to be somebody where I'm like, oh, all in. And Greg kind of talked me out of that quickly. I didn't get to all in, but I got to a lot more Jared Vanderbilt than I would have had I not been on that show talking through my process with him, which was very, very helpful. Again, Greg Ehrenberg, as sharp as it gets. Very, very lucky to be working with him as well. But Emac, it came down to me. Naz Reid was just way, way too cheap. He's way, way too cheap in the same circumstance if you get Cat out again. And I mean, it's not 3,300 like we just saw. This is kind of like reminding me of Dwayne Dedmon, where his tag is slowly kind of came up. Well, guess what? At 4,100, you're not going to get 30% Naz Reid here. You're going to have to pay for a 60% Naz Reid at 4,100 here, because the circumstances don't change. He played 34 minutes. He's generally been better than a fantasy point per minute. It was actually what I believe to be a low-end outcome for him, and he's still over 9x'd. So I'm looking at it as a guy that, I don't ever really think about the multipliers that much, not like most people do. I think about it in context of evaluating players versus other players. But for me, he's just such a good source of value here. Same thing with Jared Vanderbilt. So keep an eye on that news. Lots of news that's going to dictate this slate, but that was kind of the big thing to bring up a power forward. We could go on and on about, some shots that you wanted to take on Robinson Earl here. He went 0 for 7, 24 minutes of that absolute torching against Memphis. He's the exact same number as Naz Reid. If you're looking for a quote-unquote pivot, or I just would play them together, I could see him playing 30-plus minutes here, depending on who's in, who's out for the situation. And you take Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off the floor, and pretty much all systems go for anybody that ends up playing or starting in that spot. But yeah, Shai's the only piece that's going to be out here. But just watch. If he's in the starting lineup instead of Muscala, instead of Roby, you're going to be firing that up instead of, obviously, Favors. He's no more. He is no more for OKC. He's going to move on to other pastures. Let's move ourselves to the forward position over on FanDuel here. On the top end, Giannis 11K there at small forward or power forward. You've got Paul George 8,900. That's a nice tag to be getting there. Jimmy Butler 88, questionable. We're looking at Jared Allen 8,700. Jared Allen is 8,700. Talk to me about him in this Cleveland front court. Good Lord.
Yeah, the whole, so I ended up watching a decent amount of their last game, and he's just coming off some phenomenal games. I mean, his last 4, I just happen to have Yahoo game log up. He's $30 there. So he did 42 against Utah, 52 against Washington, 45 against Miami, 50 against Dallas, 41 against Orlando, 38 against Phoenix, 41 against Brooklyn. Maybe Brooklyn's wishing they had him still. I don't know. But this is a guy that we need to reassess what we're thinking of as his baseline. He is not too expensive. He is getting unfettered minutes at this point, and he's shooting. The important thing is he's shooting. That's like DeAndre Ayton. Just think of what a fantasy phenom he would be if he shot more than 10 or 11 times a game, right? We're seeing that with Jared Allen because he's taking way more shots.
Well, I'm in love with DeAndre Ayton on this slate, and we'll get to him later, and I'll talk to you exactly why. I mean, Devin Booker out. That's shots available to people. And DeAndre Ayton, not to preview, but I've got the numbers right here because I prepped him as my discussion at center. You're looking at Golden State, Detroit, and then they got absolutely obliterated by Golden State, so I don't think the minutes really looked that great there. JaVale McGee is serviceable. I wish he wasn't there because then you just get 38, 40 minutes of DeAndre Ayton, but still, 19 shot attempts, 11 and 16 his last 3 games. That is just a hefty amount of volume for him there. He's getting to the line at a pretty decent clip too, so somebody at 7,400 on DK we'll definitely talk about there over on FanDuel. DeAndre Ayton, just to preview that one. He's way too cheap down there too. He is, what is the number? 7,700. Yeah, it's somebody. Now, I'm not as enthralled with that as what I might be over on DK, but nevertheless playable. Jared Allen just been so good. Domantas Sabonis 8,300. That price tag just kind of looks wrong, but so long as Miles Turner is there, it's gonna be tough for me to get there. As you said, they hate each other, so that's fun. Draymond Green 6,900. Miles Turner down there at 6,700. I bet he garners some attention. He's been garnering quite a bit of attention in that mid 6K number alongside Wendell Carter, another guy that if you're going to play any Steph Curry or try to pay up for that kind of upside, decent enough piece to kind of play alongside it. But expect PJ Washington 6K to get a ton of attention. Expect Miles Bridges there at the small forward position there at 8,400 to get a ton of attention. No way around it. I know it's getting nauseating continually talking about Charlotte, but hey, it's not my job to dictate what is a good play. Well, no, my job is to dictate what are good plays and talk a lot about them. So, Emac, anything to add for forward on FanDuel?
No, and we'll talk about Miles. Let's just talk about Miles Turner now. So It's an interesting matchup for him against Washington. Washington has literally gone from bad rebounding, fast pace, and awful defense to league average at everything. They're not the spot of fantasy goodness they're the source of fantasy goodness that we've got used to over the last couple of years. And then when they even took it up an extra notch when they had Russell Westbrook, because then you could play one of them and you could play the opponents. We're not seeing that. The one thing that always makes me nervous about Turner and people, they're fewer and farther between. But in his career, how many games do you think he has had of more than 25 NBA points? Right? I mean, he plays a ton. He's going to have a lot, right?
I'll say 8 based on what you just said.
He has 8. How did you know that?
I'm loving this game. I love the guessing game with Emac. I literally got that right.
Yes, 8 Man. Of 413.
How good do I
games.
Run? How good do I run?
Now he's got several at 25, but the point being, 8 times out of 413 games, he's gone over 25 points. That's a little frightening. Now he is taking more threes than he has in the past. He's up around, more often than not, he's getting to half a dozen in a game. And if we look at his career numbers, he's generally, the last couple of years, he's been right around 4.5. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of his up and down. But he's another guy that will lose out on shots if he's not actively taking them. And that just makes me nervous, because you've got these guys who can put up those monster games like him and Ayton, et cetera, but then they don't get the shots. And you end up holding the bag, because there are so many good centers, I guess, to complete this thought, like Capella and other guys, that someone is always going to have a monster night. But if you don't have them, you're going to get creamed, and you could be overpaying for some of these guys. So I think we need to be more price sensitive when we look at centers this year.
Started laughing there in the middle of nothing.
Well, I wonder
my dad just texted me, said, this game sucks. My dad never texts me something like that. He just assumes I'm watching football. Normally I would be. I'm going to go rewind and watch it all. Maybe I shouldn't. That's what I just learned there. Yahoo, we're heading to forward. Looking at the top end, Giannis, game time decision, $58. Ooh, that's a big number. You got to really want that one. Jimmy Butler, $45. Paul George, $44. None of those really look that intriguing to me. I'm probably going to be looking to go down. If you have no Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, $34. Even if you do, Anthony Edwards is proven to have a ceiling. Miles Bridges is going to be insanely popular again at $32. Evan Mobley, $29. Josh Giddey, insanely popular, $28. Basically, if you play anything that isn't Miles Bridges and anything that isn't Josh Giddey, you're probably looking at getting different. Oh, of course, Gordon Hayward's there at $26 too. I want to play way more. Kelly Oubre's $21.
$21. Yeah, I was waiting for you to get there.
how many small forwards? Can I play 8 small forwards, Yahoo, please and thank you? Go ahead, Emac.
Yeah, so I think Oubre stands up more. You kind of mentioned about Jared Vanderbilt. He's yet another guy that doesn't shoot. He kind of has to if Cat's not in there. So that's one where he really gets his upside off the shooting. So he's kind of interesting in that spot. There, Spencer Dinwiddie's going to be out because he's not playing on back-to-backs after missing all of last year with an injury. So that means we could start to see a little bit more of why am I blanking on? Is it Montrezl Harrell?
Montrezl, my dude.
You get Kyle Kuzma a little bit. There's just going to be some more shots to go around. But on a slate this big, I don't think we need to go there. They're just kind of they're price neutral plays. They really need somebody else to be out, and they're on a back-to-back. So I'm not. I just wanted to point that out because some people say, "Oh, what happens when Spencer Dinwiddie's out?" Well, with these new look Wizards, not what we're exactly thinking. They're a good team. Well, they're a much better team. They have a competent rotation, and I really like Wes Unseld Jr. as the coach. I was never a fan of Scotty Brooks, even when he was with the Oklahoma City Thunder. But it's not the same team anymore, which just it makes it very hard to analyze them. The other guy you mentioned Anthony Edwards, and he had a horrible game against Brooklyn. I mean, it was awful. Like, he didn't even make a shot until it was some point into the second quarter or some crazy thing like that.
Brutal. It was brutal. I was kind of glad that I couldn't get to more of him. I would have if I wasn't on a show where I'm able to kind of not have to talk through everything. I just ended up jamming Nas and then got to more Vanderbilt, and that was kind of the priority. But D'Angelo Russell played pretty well, but he was just horrendous.
But what do you think? I mean, because you were closer to this game, and you watch him, and oh my God, he has some amazing dunks, and he's got some great drives, and he's got everything you would want. And so I don't watch a lot of Minnesota Timberwolves, but because I do, sadly. I had all the guys we've mentioned. So I had a fair amount of Anthony Edwards because I who's going to get more of the offensive attempts? Is he a reasonable play more often? I mean, we've seen his ceiling.
He's a great play if you have no Karl Anthony Towns. He's not just good play. He's like a legitimately priority type guy all around.
Is it 3,100 on DK, or I mean on Yahoo?
Yeah, 8,100 over on DK. He's 8,300 there, and then Again, small forward is a crazy position. I can't remember small forward being this deep. It is a 10-game slate, so maybe I should expect such things. Even Dylan Brooks, Memphis, he had a terrible game, $23 there for him. He only put up 16.1 in that Dallas win. Nobody played well there in that spot. I think you just have so many guys that are in play there. But once again, anything that isn't Josh Giddey, that isn't Gordon Hayward, you're probably going to be getting a little different at that position. So I'm Kelly Oubre, obviously $21 for him too. He's going to be massively popular, maybe the most popular out of everybody that we said there. But Anthony Edwards, $34. I will make it a priority to be playing him on Yahoo at that number in the event that you have no Karl Anthony Towns in there. It's just too good of a spot. And he already carries upside in any spot. We've seen back-to-back, or not back-to-back, but we've seen 2 games this season where he's put up like 60 plus alongside Karl Anthony Towns. He just takes over some games randomly at times, and you can see it. He is a very confident kid, and when it kicks in and he knocks down the first 1 or 2 shots, you can just see the train starting to move. And, the one thing that's impressive for me, just kind of comparing him to Ball, just because they're going to always be associated as the number 1, number 2 pick on did Minnesota do it correctly. But LaMelo, I feel like he's always been consistent and he's always confident. And even when he's not shooting well, he looks confident. Anthony Edwards is pretty emotional. He's a very emotional kid. And you can definitely tell whether or not he's going to have a good game or a bad game. You knew you were pretty dead watching that Brooklyn game immediately that Anthony Edwards was not going to have a good game. I think he ended up having like 8 turnovers in that spot too. 3 steals. You can kind of throw those into the mix, but you can definitely see what your night's going to look like in the first quarter with Anthony Edwards. Let's jump on over to center. Let's get ourselves out of here. Emac's burning the midnight oil over there on the East Coast. 9:46. Oh, it's bedtime for old Emac. We got to get him to sleepy. Let's go. Nikolay Jokich, 12K. 12K for Nikolay Jokich on the top end. They ended up just pounding New York the other night. That was other afternoon, I suppose. Yeah. It was afternoon here even.
It was a 3 o'clock game. 4 o'clock.
Yeah, 3 o'clock. So it was nice to have some 10 a.m. lineups to put together for NBA. Again, what better than waking up and making NBA showdown lineups where you're waiting to see that if Zeke Naji is going to make the difference in your life or not. What a life we lead. But he ended up playing only 27 minutes. Super, super efficient, 54.25 fantasy points. If you can get to him, you play him. Same thing, Joel Embiid now. Nice to see some big minutes for him because that was kind of his bugaboo earlier on. And now we're seeing 45, 30, 33, 36. Closer games, he's going to play a lot of minutes, it seems like. As long as he keeps his hands to himself. I know he got into early foul trouble. That 30-minute Orlando game ended up winning that one anyway. They're starting to get it going here with Philadelphia, getting some of the pieces back. And we got to wait to see if Tobias Harris is going to be a go. Obviously, I think Joel Embiid is a better play there with Tobias out. The Philly other players we didn't touch on too much because the prices have come up to a place where unless you get some spot start for Matisse Thybulle, even Niang 4,100, not nearly a priority on this slate like he would have been on other slates. But pay attention to that. Joel Embiid, 11K up there on the top end. But Karl Anthony Towns, if he plays 9,900, I'm going to have some interest up against Atlanta at home. But in the event he sits, we've talked through all of those scenarios. What are you noticing on the top end of center?
I don't want to put my dollars there, and I don't even think it's. I don't even think it's a good allocation of resources. Here's why: because if we start looking down the pricing sheet across all of the sites, there are better plays in the mid tier. I think this is a day where we're probably going to want to play 2 centers, especially over on Yahoo. But a lot of times that is an important decision point, especially if you're only making a few lineups. Because while Nikolay Jokich is 54, next highest is Joel Embiid at 47. I don't want to spend that on Jokic because there are too many other players like Jared Allen at 30, Clint Capella at 30, DeAndre Ayton at 28. Miles Turner at 21. That's a great price. Isaiah Stewart against the depleted OKC team at 18, and then down Dwayne Dedman still at 14, Naz Reid at 12. Those are the ones I want to pay. Those guys can put up 30 fantasy points, and then you can upgrade 1, if not 2 positions to a very good player at that has a better upside and a better floor than just playing Jokic. So I think you're hamstringing yourself if you go with him. I might on Yahoo, I might be able to convince myself for 47 for Joel Embiid, but if Tobias Harris is back, and I can't remember if he practiced or not, but he had a non-COVID related illness that has kept him out for a couple of games.
Embiid's fine. Yeah. Embiid's good.
But I would lean to no. But I was going to say if Harris is back, then that's another quality player against a shorthanded team that just played today and played a lot of minutes.
It just cuts into his ceiling a little bit. And
correct.
You need to be when you're paying $11K, you're paying for ceiling. You're not paying for 50.
Yeah, and on a 10-game slate, you can't miss at any of your spots.
Right.
You walk off the curb and you get hit by the dump truck, and you don't want to have that happen. So I think we're going to look at kind of mid-tier and down. I also don't think you want to punt the center play unless it ends up being a Naz Reid kind of a punt on Yahoo or maybe an Isaiah Stewart. But if we look at Isaiah Stewart, does he have that potential to go over 40 fantasy points? I don't know. Do I really want to get there? Maybe I really should start to look at Ayton and as the cutoff, or a 21 at Miles Turner seems better than an 18 for Stewart. And Turner, when he gets the blocks going, those are worth 3 a game. And that's, if he gets 3 or 4 of those, all of a sudden you're looking at a big night. And he does have the upside. He doesn't hit it with consistency, but he does have 50 fantasy point upside. And at 21, that's a good time to roll the dice.
I might be looking to pay up at center a little bit more than you, simply because we have such good value and Ish Smith exists. Like, Ish Smith is going to eat up so much of my guard spots. 3,400 for him. I can get to Jokic. I can get to Embiid. I can get to Vooch. I can get to, I'm not Vooch. I don't want to play Vooch. Karl Anthony Towns, if he's good to go there. But then, yeah, you're right. There is some interesting spots, but for tournaments, I'm looking like Mo Bamba, Jakob Poeltl, Miles Turner, all of them, 6,400, 6K, and 5,900 over on DK. That middle ground looks intriguing, but as you said, Jared Vanderbilt, Naz Reid, if you get availability to them, it completely changes the slate. And for sure, they're going to be eating up a lot of my spots, even over at FanDuel, where we have Naz Reid, 5K. He's the guy that's circled for me over there. If you end up getting no cat, I expect him to be popular, even at that number, and I don't care. He's just a phenomenal play. I think that there's even more upside. Again, 34 minutes against Brooklyn, somebody who generally has performed better than a fantasy point per minute rate. So I'm looking at getting to him in a ridiculous amount of lineups should we get the good to go news there. But Nikolay Jokich, 10-9, Joel Embiid, 10-4. We know the kind of ceiling that they have. You can get up there if you want. And even Clint Capella, I'll throw him in as the last guy because he didn't play well tonight. 8 points, 14 boards, 23.8 fantasy points in a home loss to Charlotte against their B team, basically. I'm looking at Clint Capella against Naz Reid. If you get Cat in, even, I probably would still take these shots. It was definitely John Collins' spot for this one, but we've seen them kind of go back and forth. On FanDuel specifically, 8,200 Clint Capella, don't sleep on it. I'm just going to throw it out there. 50 plus, I will call in the event that he gets Naz Reid defense. Naz Reid is just a tiny little center. But what sticks out to you, Emac, over on FanDuel? How are your football lineups doing too?
My showdown lineups are catching up. NBA ended up not being nearly as good as I had hoped.
Come on, you saw my live before lock. I got the receipts. Fred
VanVleet.
Oh, he was terrible. And you also have attached your soul to him going forward forever.
You have
a bobblehead.
No, I have a Fred VanVleet jersey.
What is that? That is beautiful. That's blue. That's the Toronto blue, isn't it?
You know who gave this to me?
Who gave that to you?
Rinpack.
Somebody loves you. I love that, man. Shout out Rinpack here for the Slate Starter Pod. Let's round this thing out over on Yahoo. Nikolay Jokich, $54 high. Have a price tag. Joel Embiid, $47. Probably prioritize him there, but really would prioritize Karl Anthony Towns at $39. He could have one of those remember me kind of games. If he's good to go, I have no questions that I would fire him up there. Vooch, 33, discounted there. Jared Allen, $30. Clint Capella, $30. Still like him at that number there. DeAndre Ayton, I've waited for this portion of the program, but $28 for him in those 3 games here without Booker now. 48.2, 37.4, 37.2 fantasy points on Yahoo. The shot attempts have ramped up. That's really, really important to me. Getting to the line, getting involved. Chris Paul definitely pass first. He's going after Stockton. He's never going to catch Stockton. But, we had that conversation last time we were on the Slate Starter together. But DeAndre Ayton, probably my favorite center for tournaments. Jakob Poeltl out there too. Going to be a lot of true centers going up against each other. Probably don't hate Jakob Poeltl either. Probably not at $23 on Yahoo, but that 6K number over on DK. Happy with it. What sticks out to you at Yahoo, Emac, to round it out for us tonight?
I think you hit on everything that we needed to. This is going to be a fun slate. There are going to be a lot of moving parts because it's a 10-gamer. We're missing a fair number of the premium plays. There's not like superstars to pay up for, even though there's 20 teams in action. Enough of them are hurt with Ja Morant out and with LaMelo Ball out and with Giannis potentially out, Jimmy Butler potentially out, right? So that we're, and Paul George playing in a bit of a funk. So this could be a really fun tournament slate here. So it's, I guess there's just one question left to ask.
Oh no.
Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon?
Who sent you that? Who sent you that? Why are people sending me singing? Okay, we have to have a conversation. Yes, Colors of the Wind, my karaoke song. It's a beautiful, beautiful song about majesticness and being in tune with nature and prioritizing people and loving our neighbors as ourselves. But yes, Emac, make fun of me for my beautiful song selection. Whatever. I'm going to finish it out with some NBA because I hate you right now. Yes, I did karaoke on Friday. We found a karaoke bar that's in our neighborhood. Never been. Jordan Klein, shout out. Best producer in the game named Jordan Klein. Could not believe his ears when I sang Colors of the Wind. But Miles Turner, $21, sitting there on Yahoo, our sponsor Yahoo. PJ Washington, $16, and Dwayne Dedman, $14. All of them I expect to be very popular. I don't care. They're all great plays. Well, that does it. Emac buzz killed this entire thing. Emac, any final words for the people before I, never talk to you again?
No, but see, we do like each other in real life. We like each other on the shows. It's a lot of fun being here at Awesemo. I appreciate getting a chance to work with you again here and filling in for Rinpack. So thank you. It's always fun. And thank you to the loyal audience. We could not do this without you. We're cresting towards 70,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We had our 4-hour block, or 4.5-hour block now, had well over an hour of concurrent, 4,000 concurrent viewers. We had over 1,200 likes. This helps us out tremendously, and it also helps us keep putting out free content for you guys. So hit that like, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscription, all that fun stuff. Leave a review. I know Rinpack is doing some contests here for people that leave reviews on the podcast as well that are eligible for prize drawings and such. So there are a lot of ways we're giving back. So we appreciate everything that our loyal listeners do for us.
Yep, the Slate Starter feed. It's got its own podcast feed now. We got to check that out. Hit that 5-star review on it. Leave us a review. Those contests, or sorry, not those contests, those drawings are going to be coming sooner than you think. So leave a 5-star review, leave a comment, and you will immediately be eligible for them. We will throw you into the mix. Might do a drawing live on air doing this one time because that would just be a fun way to do it. But Emac, always a good time. Always enjoy being able to do a show with you. Love your insight. We'll see you again tomorrow, my guy. He's Emac. He's going to bed. I'm Eric. I'm going to go edit for hours. We'll see you guys later.